Welcome to the Day's Explainer. Look, if you still think internal audit is just about ticking boxes and checking old receipts, well, you are in for a major paradigm shift today. We're going to completely shatter that old bean counter stereotype. We're diving into the incredibly dynamic dual mandate that defines the modern internal audit function. And we'll see exactly how these professionals balance complex, formal duties with some really vital organizational responsibilities to drive absolute excellence.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're covering 5 key areas. 1. The outsider mindset. 2. The power balance. 3. Duties under the Audit Charter. 4. Responsibilities as employee obligations. And finally, number 5, the strategic partner. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The outsider mindset. We are starting off with a fundamental shift in how we view who internal auditors truly are within a company.
I just love this catchy paradox. Insiders with outsider mindsets. It hits the nail on the head. Because on one hand, these folks possess incredibly deep, intimate knowledge about an organization's culture, its procedures, and its entire system of internal controls. That makes them absolute insiders, perfectly positioned to influence performance. But, and here's the catch, to do their jobs effectively and professionally, they absolutely must maintain the completely objective, independent lens of a total outsider. It is a really tricky tightrope to walk, creating value while staying totally objective.
Section 2. The power balance. Because to make that unique outsider mindset actually work, executive management has to get the foundational structure right.
Think of this like a high-stakes balancing act. Management has to carefully balance the independence of the audit team with the authority granted to them. If you have independence without authority, well, the audit function is totally ineffective, right? They literally can't change anything. But on the flip side, authority without independence is downright dangerous because it just leads to biased interventions. So, auditors need a formal, documented mandate giving them the liberty to work without undue interference. In fact, if they ever experience a scope limitation that stops them from doing their job, they are required to report it instantly to executive management and the audit committee. You got to secure both independence and authority.
Moving on to Section 3, Duties, the Audit Charter. With that power balance secured, let's explore the very first pillar of this dual mandate.
So what do we actually mean by duties? Basically, duties are the assurance piece of the puzzle. They are derived directly from the official Internal Audit Charter, which formally outlines exactly what the audit staff is expected to deliver. And let's be super clear here. The outcomes of an internal audit engagement only actually happen if these assigned duties are performed honestly and professionally. Fulfilling these duties is quite literally how the team provides that rock-solid assurance stakeholders demand.
Now you've got your foundational traditional duties, and they form a pretty complete life cycle. It starts with meticulous planning and execution, which obviously relies on highly competent staff. From there, it's not just about filing away documentation. Auditors are actively coordinating with external auditors to save time, ensuring regulatory compliance, and communicating critical findings straight to the board. And honestly, the job isn't even done until they conduct follow-up reviews to prove those fixes actually worked.
But listen, those traditional duties, those are just the baseline today. Today's auditors are tackling massive, modern threats. They're on the front lines of cybersecurity, pressure testing IT controls and incident response plans. They're evaluating ESG compliance as sustainability regulations get stricter by the minute. And to pull this off, they are leveraging huge amounts of data analytics to spot anomalies in real time, all while overseeing whistleblower mechanisms to make sure staff are protected. It is serious, high-stakes work.
Now here is where things get really interesting. We just talked about the duties derived from the charter, but we can't forget a very basic fact. Internal auditors are employees of the organization. They get a paycheck just like anyone else. And that status as an employee obligates them to a whole second set of rules, which are their responsibilities.
Which brings us to Section 4, Responsibilities, Employee Obligations. Let's unpack what it means to be an employed expert within the organization.
As employees, their primary obligation fundamentally shifts towards actively adding value, creating recommendations, and improving the organizational environment. It's no longer just about assuring people that things aren't broken. It's about actively understanding the business and figuring out how to make it better.
These obligations are exactly what make an auditor a trusted internal expert. It requires absolute process mastery, combined with a really healthy dose of professional skepticism. Basically, they know exactly how the company runs, but they always keep a questioning mind. They use this mindset to assess risks and boost internal controls. And because they are dealing with highly sensitive vulnerabilities, strict confidentiality and continuing professional education aren't just nice-to-haves, they are absolute, mandatory obligations.
And because they possess this incredibly deep, masterful knowledge of the company, management naturally leans on them for highly specialized advisory roles. They aren't just finding accounting errors anymore. They're investigating suspected fraud at the board's request, or offering strategic advice on brand new projects before they even get off the ground. By aligning with enterprise risk management, they ensure there are absolutely no dangerous blind spots across the company.
Section 5, the strategic partner. So how do we bring the whole shebang together? How do we merge these charter-driven duties and employment-driven responsibilities into one successful audit function?
Well, for this to align perfectly, the organization has to provide 5 non-negotiable conditions. 1. A current, board-approved audit charter. 2. Totally unrestricted access to all records, personnel, and property. 3. Direct and unimpeded reporting straight to the audit committee. 4. A budget that's actually sufficient to maintain top-tier staff and modern tech. And 5. A supportive organizational culture. When management actually ensures these 5 things are in place, internal auditors finally have the liberty to work independently and objectively.
Ultimately, when this dual mandate is humming along perfectly, internal audit becomes a massive driver of organizational excellence. They're spotting risks early, recommending vital improvements that save real resources, and providing that crucial objective assurance. So I'm going to leave you with this to think about. Take a hard look at your own organization. Is your internal audit functioning like a punitive police force, just checking off boxes? Or have you truly empowered them to be the strategic partner they were designed to be? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.